Hey guys, and welcome back to the Path to Exile podcast, episode 19, partner with Mobalytics. I am Cal Torek, and joining me per usual is Miso Shiro and Dead Rabbit. And reminder, we have our audio-only format on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so go check us out there if you don't want to watch the video format. And we have a special guest this week. It is Blazeworks TV, solo self-found hardcore podcaster specialist. My man, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for having me on today, boys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you two are in Japan right now. We've been talking. We've been an update on Miso's Japan trip. How has your trip been so far?
Oh, dude, it's been incredible. It's been my first time in Japan. I got here almost 2.5 weeks ago, so I've been here for quite a long time. Me and the lady have been traveling all around. We've been to 5 different cities, and yeah, it's been an incredible trip. Really, really awesome. Love Japan so much.
Sweet. We've been talking a little bit off stream, but I've been playing Rust a lot lately. My friends recently got into Rust after all the updates, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. Rabbit, have you ever played Rust? Miso
No,
hasn't.
I haven't. I haven't. I have seen. I had a period in my life where I watched a lot of Rust content. I think like people were playing
Rust
solo
content's
Rust,
fun to watch.
and it was like super chill. I don't know what the YouTuber was, but there was like a certain YouTuber who did like
It's probably
very
Wilsham.
cozy. Yeah, exactly that one.
It's probably
And
Wilsham.
that was my jam for a while. But I personally I never played Rust. We talked about this on I think last episode as well.
Yeah.
I did not, for someone who played this many hours of video games in his life, I have not played that many games. Because the games that I've played I probably have a 5+ games that I have 20,000 plus hours in, but I don't have the big catalog of games that I played. So no Rust. I never played, like, what did you say last week? RuneScape, Maple Story. I missed a lot of games. Like I'd never played Cyberpunk. I didn't even play any Souls-like stuff. I always
What the
played
heck?
one game. Yeah, no. I played World of Warcraft. I played Counter-Strike, Warcraft 3, Diablo 2. That's it. That's it.
Hell yeah.
My time is unfortunately no 48 hours in my day.
Yeah. My friends, I have a group of friends that I play. We call them like friend swap games. Like we play like Peak together. Like we just like those kind of games we always play together. And we used to like really like degen games like Minecraft and stuff. We'd start a Minecraft server and go ham on it for like a week and stuff. And Rust has kind of filled that new friend void. Rust has like weekly and monthly resets. If you can avoid the toxicity, Rust has a bad reputation for having a really nasty player base, and it's pretty rough at times. But we just turn off voice proximity and play on moderated servers, and it ends up being a really good time. Just hanging with the bros. That's how I've been playing with my off season. Rabbit, you've been streaming PoE 2 lately. Your views have been great, man. By the way.
Yeah,
How's that
I
been
feel like
going?
people are coming back slowly. I barely, I have to say, even though as someone who still is trying to grow as a streamer, because it's not quite paying the bills yet, and I'm doing it full time and whatever. I used to look at like view count a lot, to be honest, because it's just something that you try to track every day, and I haven't really ever since like the big boost of the last league, because I was hovering, like, for the first time ever that I had a stream, I was hovering around average for a month of average of 600 plus, and that was like where I was okay, I don't care that much anymore. But yeah, it's definitely noticeable. It's very noticeable. I would always say like PoE to itself, or PoE to PoE in general, it's just a cyclical game. So I've kind of accepted that it is gonna be 1 or 2 months of hype and then 2 months of really dying down. At the beginning, in 0.1 and 0.2, when we had the 2 months at the end, towards the end of the league, I panicked. Like, I full on panicked, because I was like, I have to get a job again. What the fuck did I do? Why did I decide on doing this? I can never live like this. I made like $200 this month. Holy shit, no. And now I'm much calmer now, because I understand it now, that it is a cyclical game, and yeah, you just need to grind a little bit in the first 2 months, and then it can take you over the rest. And yeah, still growing, but yeah, it's been fine. That was your original question. I don't know why I'm ranting about that. Okay, this is not my therapy session. Okay, sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm in the same boat, man. I'm in the same boat. Like,
Yeah, I know.
we're both trying to make it into a job, and like we're not quite there yet. So it's like we're always looking at the numbers. It's like, can we make this work?
Yeah.
Do we need to go back? Oh, I don't know.
I already see myself waiting tables or something. I see it in my head. I dream of that every night, that I have to go back into the normal working force again.
Oh,
and yeah, we'll see.
back into corporate. Oh boy, talking.
Oh, it's not
wearing
even
a suit
corporate for me.
and
It's just the
everything.
coal mines for me. I'm just in the Eastern German coal mines. Because I'm so small, it's perfect for me. They always said like it's perfect. So I can fit right in, and I can be the first one to just like doing this.
I got the black lung pop.
Yeah.
Nah, you're good, man. You've been
Because of
killing
that.
it, bro. You've been doing great.
How's your off season been, Blaze? What have you been up to?
Oh man, I got back into PoE 1 actually. I played a lot of 3.27 and it was actually so much fun, boys. Like I love PoE 1. It was the first time I actually played the game, like actually following build guides. I played HCSSF. I got to like tier 15 maps on my first character. And yeah, I'm excited to play more PoE 1 and in between, like basically be like a PoE 1 and 2 player now, which has been just feels good to have content like every 2 months, you know what I mean? Instead of every 4.
Word.
I'm curious. Like you played it a lot. I was seeing you on almost as much as I was in those early days, and I was DJing it pretty hard. Do you feel like, are you feeling any, like, this is like, I guess the first real dip of that cycle of the PoE 1 league every 2 months, PoE 2 league every 2 months is a little bit shorter, but are you feeling any like fatigue at all, or is this like, is this a cycle you will live for like always, like, because a lot of people talk about the potential of PoE fatigue, but I don't know if you're feeling that.
Well, because I'm not like a full-time content creator and stuff like that, I basically just do whatever I want to do. But what I've wanted to do for the last year is play PoE 2 nonstop, and so I've done that. But it is exciting to just learn a completely new game, and PoE 1 is unique, and we were actually just talking about this at dinner. It's the first game that I've ever played where I actually like had to do research and like homework and like study for, which is really weird to say. It's like a very unique experience in video games. So like, if you can get past the strangeness of having to watch like guides and stuff before playing the game, it actually is a lot of fun, like, because there is so much to learn. And I think that that is like the allure of PoE 1, is that just, it's an endless like learning cycle, and it can get tiring and fatiguing, I guess. But for me, because I'm at the very entry point of it, I'm just really enjoying it at this point in time.
So you're not like exhausted at all going into this PoE 2 league. You just feel fully energized for a full new grind.
For sure. Yeah. And like playing PoE 1,
yeah.
like it shows you a lot of things that the GGG have done really, really well in that game. And so it kind of like influences your thought process about how PoE 2 may develop or how it may progress in the future as well. So it's interesting to see like where they've gone and what decisions they've made in the first game, and how they may be deviating from some things, or they may be changing things, or going back on their word and trying to go back and do things the way that worked in PoE 1. So yeah, it's been cool to see that as well.
Yeah.
Like overall,
I
this league had, I just saw a post on Reddit, I think a few days ago, that this league, especially this current PoE 1 league, had one of the best player retention rates after a month, I think. Like it was like 57% or something of players who played in the first week already still played in the first month. So as like a newer player for PoE 1, why do you think that this league especially? I haven't checked anything on this PoE 1 league. I don't think I was ever this uninformed about PoE 1. So I'm just really interested. What did they do right this league that especially newer players picked it up and liked it so much? So
yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just the Genesis tree specifically. I think that mechanic or that system like solved like having to, like, you can engage with only the Genesis tree and get like the craziest items. You can basically solve a lot of issues that you would have to solve. And I play SSF, so I played SSF in PoE 1 as well. And instead of having to engage with a lot of different systems, you can kind of like amalgamate that by just interacting with the Genesis tree. And so, yeah, I think it just made it a lot easier for new players because instead of having to interact with like maybe a dozen different systems and to accomplish something, you could do it with like maybe 3 or 4 and the Genesis tree. So yeah, I think that's the thing. Let me ask you guys something. We were just talking about this and I have a question. So with GGG sort of taking Breach as a mechanic and giving it a refresh, giving it like a Breach 2.0, it kind of seemed like they were conserving resources. And this is sort of like a tinfoil hat theory, but to me, it seemed like they were, conserving resources so that they could focus more on PoE 2's development because let's be honest, like it takes a lot less resources to just refresh a mechanic than it does to create completely new content. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that might be sort of what they were doing here with the Breach 2.0 League?
I think so.
Sorry, what is the name of this league, of the current league? I need
Keepers
to
of the
correct myself,
Flame.
maybe. Keepers of the Flame. Okay. I made a mistake just now. The post that I saw was someone saying something about the player retention of Affliction compared to other leagues should really tell
that was a long time
people
ago.
loot.
That was
okay,
a long
the player
time
retention
ago.
on this. Yeah, okay, sorry. I made a mistake.
So I
need to
actually
correct myself
misinformation.
immediately.
It wasn't me this time.
No, it's good to point that out, though.
I'm sorry,
I actually have.
You can
I was
comment
going
now.
to say I actually have a different. From what my understanding
Actually
is different.
bad retention rate.
Yes, the retention of this league
Bad
was actually
retention rate this
pretty
week.
bad. Because there is the part of like the Genesis tree being pretty like welcoming for the Path of Exile 2 players, which I still don't think many there's a good number of them who played it, but I don't think a lot of them latched onto it. But I do think that the Genesis tree is a very Path of Exile 2 like mechanic where it's very pretty easy, pretty simple to do. There's not many consequences because you can respec whenever you want, and like target farming items was pretty dang nice and easy to do, especially when you're talking about rare with 6 links and things like that. But I think the other thing is, of course, it being Breach was very approachable to Path of Exile 2 players because it was something that was familiar, something that they've done before, even though with a little bit different twist. But I do think for retention wise, it was worse because of the fact that the league mechanic itself was, while it was easy to get items, it wasn't the most profitable thing. People didn't really use it for making money. And for me personally, and I talked about this before, especially on the Try podcast, but for the most part, there was a part of the mechanic that I pretty much never run. And it never really felt that good to run other than just there's a breach thing here and I'm just going to do it. There was a tower defense mechanic that was really, it seemed not very good. It was not a good trade-off for time versus return. So because of that, because of the fact that the league mechanic was an old league mechanic, it wasn't that interesting. I actually think that because of that, it was not a very successful retention-wise. But a lot of people actually really liked it going into it at first. I do know
at first
it was
awesome
very
because you were getting
received.
because initially it was holy shit. I think it was Act 4 or Act 6. People were getting 6 links.
Yeah, it was
from the
Act
tree,
5.
And that was just oh my god, this is so awesome. It fell apart really quick to me. I hated playing it as a melee main, and I heard many melee mains say that this league mechanic was just fucking abysmal. Having to defend from multiple directions, you weren't playing something that was easily clearing multiple sides. I did not have fun engaging with that mechanic at all just because I was playing a melee build. And
yeah, they made it better, but
yeah,
at the end of the day,
it
was
exactly
okay.
Wrong way.
Yeah.
How'd they make it better?
They made it so that Alva had kind of a internal cooldown for how often she could take damage. And then near the end of the league, a couple weeks ago, right before I left for Tokyo, they added some walls in the actual fortress defense mode that was kind of annoying, but also made it so that Alva was a little bit less vulnerable.
Yeah, the mechanics of this league really rewarded builds that had really strong AoE clear, omnidirectional AoE clear. So the build that I played was Earthshatter and Earthshatter Berserker. And it was so much fun just hitting those Earthshatters and just watching the explosions happen and omnidirectional explosions and everything like that. But I could see it being very different for a different experience for builds that didn't have crazy AoE clear.
Yeah. But overall, it was just it wasn't a very profitable mechanic. People still just went with their normal farms, strong boxes, tier 17. I went with cloisters for div div card stacks, things like that. It was just very, very same old a lot of times from what most people experienced.
Yeah, that makes sense then. That makes sense then. I understood the poll at first. I understood the polls the wrong, because what I've seen just from clips and whatever, like I said, I don't think I've ever been this uninformed on any PoE1 league so far. So that makes more sense. And it was probably like a lot of people at the beginning, there was like a big, oh my god, this is crazy drops or whatever. But then it's kind of the same for every RPG, and we've talked about this a lot on the podcast too. Finding that right balance of loot is probably the most important thing about like any player retention, because if you just like get showered in, for example, for PoE1 at 6-lings in week 1 or whatever, it just loses.
Yeah,
it
they
just
lose value.
so much so quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, there.
And
I
this is
remember
again
I was,
where we can talk about Diablo 2, where it's just perfect. You can play
Yes.
Diablo 2 for 20 years, and that is so stupid. It's a meme at this point, but it is actually this easy. That is why Diablo 2 is holds up to this day, and it doesn't even need to be updated for the next 60 years, because the loot hunting and the actual state of the loot and what you get and how often you get it and how rare certain things are, but still like kind of achievable. It's just it's perfect. That's why I will probably still be in a retirement home someday and be like, Griffins.
But let me ask you this,
when I was
Rabbit.
following,
Like, if Diablo 2 got updated consistently on like a 4-month basis, do you think that over time Blizzard would have like tried things that would have messed up that item hunt,
yes.
that perfect item hunt, right?
Yes.
Like they're making it harder for themselves with GGG and the constant need to make content by consistently reformatting and changing the way that we find items, right? Like whereas Blizzard, they made it perfect and they were like, okay, we're good. Like we're backing up now and we're done with this. So
well, that's
yeah.
not how. I don't think that's not just how that's just not how devs worked back then. If Diablo 2 was made in a more modern era, they would have 100% like went back and fucked it up. It just wasn't
100%.
like, updating games back then was a lot trickier of a process. So
Even the difference
really
between
doing
Diablo
that.
2 Vanilla and Lord of Destruction, the expansion pack, like LOD changed the game in so many different ways, and a lot of people actually preferred like vanilla Diablo 2. We don't need to go down the Diablo 2 rabbit hole anymore, but anyway, yeah, it's different for sure.
Yeah. Back to the PoE1 talk. When I was following Captain Lance, I remember him saying he was finding like insane items that would have been like jackpot multi-divine cells that were going for exalts like on day 2. The
Chaos.
Genesis tree just like really sped up gear acquisition to the point like everyone was finishing their character super fast. It honestly probably wasn't great for the game. I know we talked about this before and Miso mentioned it just now, but it did feel like it was a PoE2-esque system that was slotted into PoE1. I watched Palsteron's review of the league. It was yesterday or the day before he posted it, and he said it felt like he had a lot of fun, but it felt like he had a lot of like his review. Just go watch his review. But he said it felt like a filler league to him. It felt very not rushed, but it was definitely.
I think we said last week on the podcast there might be a reason for that though, because they probably didn't go like 100% on the current PoE1 league because they want the next PoE2 league to be an absolute banger. I think we said it last week. That is my kind of hopium as someone who is primarily focused on PoE2. My hope is that, of course, I want good PoE1 leagues. Even though let's say I'm not ever gonna touch PoE1 again, which I won't. I will definitely play PoE1 leagues in the future again. But even if I don't play PoE1, I still want the PoE1 leagues to be good. I still want like PoE1 players to get everything they want. I still want PoE1 leagues to be absolutely incredible because it has implication for PoE2 as well. And also it's just good for like GGG, for the nature of the game and whatever. But I think you might be right that this current PoE1 league was not something they had like the biggest of focus on in terms of how much power they put into in terms of development of that. And I think that is because they know 0.4 has to be absolutely huge now, and it has to just blow our minds on Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
That's how it
there's a
feels.
lot to talk about with it. The Druid, people say like they had to shorten the PoE1 league to get the Druid finished, but the Druid's been basically done since 0.2. So that's why I'm really hyped about the Endgame update, is because, and we can just talk about that now, but like they probably have been putting a lot of work into this update for the Endgame. I don't like, a lot of people are like, it won't be that big because they've been grinding away at Druid. No, Druid's been ready for a hot minute now. It just needed some little animation tweaks, is the rumor. But yeah, let's talk about Fate of the Val. Since the last episode, we got the announcement of the Fate of the Val. Have any of you guys done the Aziri content and the incursions deep in? It sounds like, okay, Miso. So you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, a series, basically like incursions, how it works is like, and I'm not the biggest fan of it and how it works. I don't know, Blaze, if you've done it before. So I'm not always the biggest fan of like league mechanics that take you out of the mapping process. So basically it like ports you to another map type of situation. How it works is basically you go into, so Atziri shows up, or sorry, Alva, she shows up in your map, right? And she's like, hey, yo, we have this temple thingy. Like, you come in here to the incursion, right? You talk to her, you enter the incursion, it ports you to another map. It's kind of like a temple map, basically, right? And then from there, you kind of have a choice, because at the end of the day, right, you're basically going through a temple. And when you're doing the Alva content, you're kind of unlocking rooms to the temple. And so there's like multiple choices, right? If you just want this room, you kill this boss monster over here. If you want this room, you kill that boss monster over there. And you can only choose one of them. So by the end of it, you'll basically clear up certain rooms of the temple that'll lead to the final boss for the most part. Sometimes it doesn't, but basically you do Alva stuff, which opens up rooms in a temple, and then all of that culminates into a final boss. And each of those rooms do a different thing. Sometimes certain rooms will give you a lot of equipment. Sometimes certain rooms will give you a lot of gems. Sometimes certain rooms will, and this is the one that people mostly look for, it's a double corruption room. So basically you go in, and instead of voling the item like once, it'll vol the item twice. So it'll let you double corrupt an item. So it'll just be like super, super valuable. So that's kind of like mostly what a lot of people look for in the Alva mechanic. And again, it just basically ports you to another kind of instance that allows you to kill a boss, that gets you one of these rooms. I don't really like it too much, but some people like it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the side room content. We just had that with Abyss, where you had to jump into the holes.
Yeah, I did not do Abyss after a while, because it was just like, I don't really make most of my money here. Like, you go into the Abyss and like your map mods disappear for some reason. Like, I don't know why. Like, so it was like at near the end of the league, I skipped every one of those. I really did.
It really just depends on how rewarding it is. Like, going into those abyssal depths, the main point was just to get the crafting currency, right? Like, that was where they had every chest, even if it was a white chest in the abyssal depths, had a chance to drop some sort of abyssal crafting currency. So I think that if they do some sort of incursion style content for this new league, they have to incentivize us to go in there, because I know what you mean. It kind of takes the wind out of your sails when you have to go into some other zone.
It's a completely different phase.
You lose your shrines if you have a shrine for some reason. Like, it's just, it ruins everything in terms of your pacing. So the rewards have to be on point for that.
Thoughts, Rabbit?
Like there has been so many things in terms of like most of the stuff with it that we know about what's coming for the 0.4 is that they just said in the last GGG interview or whatever that this patch is gonna be endgame. Then we had the Delph leak. At first I was like, oh god, Delph could be pretty much perfect for what we want. At the same time, now 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh, maybe Delph isn't what we need, because I think like the focus should not maybe be as on mechanics that are outside of the mapping experience, and just get like good other mechanics that we then spend all the time in. I think they need to rework or like fix, however you might want to call that, the overall what we're already doing, like the mapping endgame loot is something like the address tree, the infinite atlas, the improvements to that. So I honestly don't even know anymore. Incursions, okay. I've been seeing a lot of things in my chat, people saying what might be implicated due to it being like the Val type league. I honestly think it's going to be something completely new. I think there's going to be
I hope so.
something new. I think the overhanging thing, I'm not saying that there's just going to be stuff that is new. Obviously, there's going to be things in the current update that is probably also coming from PoE 1, or like stuff that they have done in PoE 1 and want to implicate like that. But I think the overarching thing and the overall end game type of thing is going to be something completely new. And I think as we had the case for the 0.3 update, we're gonna be bamboozled. I think it's gonna be a pretty big update. I said
I hope
last
so.
week, when I huffed on some Hopium, I said I think this is gonna be the most hype announcement reveal of PoE 2 so far. I think it's gonna be no match for
I'm kind
any
of
of
where
the other
you
ones.
be. So I'm in, I flip flop every day. So I want to talk about. I agree with you with the Delve.
Before
thing.
actually,
Like,
before
Delve
we go,
okay,
before we move on, I also want to mention that the Atziri stuff, while incursions is a thing with Alva and stuff like that, I think that there might be a chance that the Atziri stuff is more around the Vol like skill gem. Like, you know, like in PoE 1, you have the
Yes,
Vol
Val gems.
side areas, right? That give you the Vol skills. Because that was a completely different league than the incursions with Alva. So I'm not sure. And I feel like it's more likely to have the Vol stuff, like the Vol side area stuff, over the incursions. Because I think that, yeah, Alva, she is a Vol whatever, right? You know, what whole thing when she's like, which one of you is Vol?
Alva
blood?
Valai.
Yeah, that whole thing, right? She is Vol. But, you know, when it comes like to my mind, when it comes to Atziri and Vol, it's more of the Vol skill gem stuff with the Vol side areas. So like, again, we'll see what it is, but I do like, while I don't completely agree about Rabbit about like doing something completely new, I think it might be more on the side of like what Delve or what's it called? Abyss was, where they took an old league mechanic and they just made it PoE 2ified. And I'm hoping that it has the same effect as Delve, where everybody's like, wow, this is amazing. It's like, you know, it's an old mechanic, but they made it in a way that fits PoE 2 super well to a point where it's really, really good. Even I think Fubgun was like, I think this is the best league mechanic we've ever had in Path of Exile ever. So I'm hoping it turns out that way.
You know, just before we move on from the Atziri stuff, it's as someone who did not know, I never fought Atziri in PoE 1. I didn't play that league. I don't do incursions and stuff. It was really weird for the first day or two of the league announcement that all I was seeing was people talking about how she lost boobs. It was really difficult to parse how exciting this league was going to be when literally every Reddit thread was upvoting just that she had only two. So
that is a nerf.
I mean, we got to talk about how she got those tentacle appendages, boys. Like, what are we thinking here? Is that might be some serious communing? What guys like? What do we think? Like, she's looking a little
guys,
different.
I assume you all saw the Jazzerus clip, right?
I did not see it. I've been on vacation.
Oh, you haven't seen the Jazzerus clip? Oh,
okay.
Jazzerus talks about it's in a try video. I saw the clip of it, or he basically goes on a little rant saying that Atziri and the Beast fucked, and they fucked hard.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's what caused like the big energy explosion at the end of Act 3, and that's why she's all like beasted up, corrupted up, basically. I feel like he's kind of right though. Like, you know,
kind of cooking.
We all thought it was a cooked take, a hilariously based cooked take, but now I feel like it seems like all signs point to yes. As a side note for this.
I'm lost. What are boobs?
Apparently, she has 4 boobs in PoE 1, and
Yeah,
she
she
has
does.
2 in the trailer.
She got nerfed.
Wait, she had 2 in the trailer? I didn't
Yeah.
even see that. Oh my god, I'm making
That's what they
a
say.
thread right now.
That's what they say.
He's
I have
making a thread.
300,000 Reddit karma. I'm doing a thread right now. This has
Yeah.
to be this is a travesty. This has implications, guys. This has huge
Well,
implications.
whatever she communes with the beast is what starts, the apocalypse we see at the big end of Act 3. So I assume that's what we're finding out is in this league is we're gonna go see how she
I
communes with the
personally
beast.
just like completely separated from what the actual league mechanics are going to be or what it may look like or what the implications are because it's like in a Theory League or a Val League or whatever, and because of that we get incursions or whatever, like completely detached from that. I'm just hyped for the vibe because that is probably the best kind of stylistic vibe I like the most in PvE2. I think the whole Val thing in PvE2 is just so nice, and mixing it in with the whole monster thing and the corruption and all of that. I love that. It's I think where PvE2 is stylistically the absolute greatest. When it comes to that kind of Val and corruption and dark, like bloody type stuff, I'm just hyped for that. I don't know if it has any implications because we're probably I don't know. It's not gonna be like Act 5 or 6 or whatever, or like, but it's still there might be some stylistic choices, or let's say just like maps have a corruption on them and the map becomes like corrupted and you actually have I just like how it looks and how it feels on that type, because I think PvE2 did a very great job overall when it comes to art direction and when it comes to vibe music. And I think the whole Val aesthetic is probably in my opinion my favorite one of everything. When you take
Yeah.
the jungle aesthetic or the desert aesthetic or the Act 4 pirates with like these I don't know how I would describe that, the pirate, but like a kind of grimy pirate aesthetic with like the sand and everything.
Grimy.
I personally I like the Val the most, so I'm excited for that.
Oh
Val's
yeah.
hype. Val's super hype. Check out Jorgen's video. He just posted a big lore video about Itziri and stuff. It's really cool. Shout out to Jorgen.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to that, Rabbit. Like, I totally agree. Like, one of the points in the game that really stood out to me the most was like getting to the black chambers. Like, that zone in this game is one of the craziest, darkest, most twisted zones, but with some of the best art direction like that I've ever seen in an ARPG. And like Utsal with the bodies and like the whole Aztec or Mayan civilization vibes, like, yeah, if we see more of that kind of pushed in like a corrupted direction in the new expansion or the new league in some way, definitely all for that as well.
All I'm gonna say is that the ball monsters are the worst. I hate the ball monsters. So, if they're gonna throw more of those in the maps, I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah,
I think most people would say Act 1 is their favorite, right? I think if you ask
Yes.
most people, I think most
Act
people
1 or
would say
Act
Act
4?
1 is their favorite. But what I think Act 1 is also very good because also of the art. It's like very I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's like very generic. You get like some of everything.
generic in
And
a PoE
for
or
me,
the Diablo 2 way.
No, it's like it doesn't really have that
It's typical
absolute
ARPG.
one art style. It's it's a typical ARPG, and then once you get to the manor and stuff, it's just awesome. I think Act 1 is actually just
It's a
perfection,
masterpiece.
and it also
It's my
has
favorite
this
act.
corrupted vibe. Yeah, it's amazing. So for me, that's
If you take into account
but
it's
yeah.
the one that's been in development probably the longest because it's the first one you make, you can tell how polished it is. It's really just very clean from beginning to end. It's also not front loaded with a lot of too intense enemies because you have to make the level like you can't have the hardest mobs at the beginning. So it's really smooth. And I don't know, the Count Geonor fight is
So
like
good.
I will like remember the poem forever as like a fight. Like the first time going through that and hearing him like do the chant while he's in his wolf smoke form. It's awesome.
I said this before, but the first time I actually ever played PvE2, that is when I wasn't even like doing content for PvE2. I just picked up the game on December 6th and I played it for the first time just in my room, all alone. And I get to Geonor after like 2 hours or whatever, and he just in the first phase goes, "Run, little rabbit." I was like, "Wait, what? This game is amazing."
That's me.
Wait, the game is talking to me. So that was my like, oh my god, this yeah, that's it. That's it. That was perfect.
Well, speaking on the Endgame overhaul, it's funny because you said this when we had the try episode, Miso, and we had the discussion, the debate about the mapping system and the acquisition of those points and stuff. And I remember at the end of that, I've been pondering this since you've said this. At the end of that conversation, you said something to me. You said, "I just don't think you like mapping." And I've been thinking about that, and I think you're right. I think that there is a lot that I just dislike about mapping in general. I tend to like the side content a lot more. And I had another discussion with a friend this week. That's why I put on the show notes is the Infinite Atlas has a lot of problems. As fun as it is from a thematic standpoint to just be able to explore and you have the discovery like, oh, I just found a Jade Isles. Oh, I just found these citadels. That's hype. There is just so much problems with it, and I don't know if they can ever be solved in an infinite RNG atlas. There's just no determinism for any map you're doing at any point right now, and as long as like the biomes exist, and as long as like, and once you get acts 5 and 6 with more depth, with more like citadel bosses and stuff, like finding Jade Isles or what you want is just going to be more and more difficult. I have a big concern right now about the Infinite Atlas and its like future in this game, especially after like the PoE 1 talk we had a few weeks ago. I've been thinking more on that and stuff. Like, I don't know how we get PoE 2's Infinite Atlas even close to a favored maps realm where you're able to target the maps you want. I'm worried that like we're gonna have to get an expansion where the Infinite Atlas is just completely removed and we have to do something completely different from mapping. What are you? I just want to start with you, Miso, because we've been having this mapping discussion together for a while now. What are your thoughts on the Infinite Atlas? Like after again playing another big PoE 1 league, do you think it's salvageable, or am I being too much of a doomer right now?
I mean, I totally think that, well, first of all, at its current state, where I see GGG put their stance on it, I do think that they're going to continue to try to make it work. I think they really want this Atlas idea to work, and they're going to do whatever they can to try to make it work. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I don't think that it's entirely impossible to make it like potentially something that could be interesting. Blaze and I were actually talking about it a little bit over dinner about how, I think there's a huge opportunity when it comes to towers and making those into something that could actually potentially not only be a fun experience, but something that could really complement the Infinite Atlas, which, I'll leave part of it to Blaze to talk about. But he talked about something with like, maybe like doing like tiered maps and making that different and like, differently rewarding. But I also think that and he'll probably go on to that a little bit more, but I also think that there's a little bit interesting. Well, one, Orb of Horizons is a thing, in PoE 1, where we could potentially use that to get rid of maps that you don't want to run. Potentially, I think there could be an opportunity where it's like there is a favorite map situation going on, but like after you clear a tower, you can slap a Orb of Terraforming or Horizons, and then that will transform the area around the map to give you more of those maps that you are more desiring to run, like with a favorite map system, right? You choose these as your favorite maps, and then when you clear the tower and you slap maybe like Orbs Horizons, or maybe just by default, it terraforms the area around you to have more of those maps that you like running more, those favorite maps, as opposed to some of the ones that you don't like. And I'll let Blaze talk about it a little more as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I totally agree. I think the Infinite Atlas in practice right now is in a pretty bad state, but I definitely think it's salvageable, like Miso said. I think that it just needs to have some tweaks. The two biggest issues are for me is that we don't have enough agency over how and which maps we're doing, which is something that is just so apparently different in PoE 1. And so as Miso mentioned, I think with towers, it's funny, we hate towers and we want towers back. And So we're trying to figure out how to make towers actually feel good in the end game. I think for me, the one thing that I've been saying for a long time was just make it so that every tower has Grand Project tablet just attached to it. So you do a tower, it unlocks a radius of maps that you can teleport to. The higher tier map you do within that tower, the larger radius that you have. So when you're starting out mapping, you're doing tier ones, it unlocks a very small radius of like 5 maps or something like that. And then as you get up to 15s, you're like jumping between towers, you're choosing the maps that you want to do, combined with Orbs of Horizon to somehow adjust the biome or the map layouts and stuff like that. I think that would increase a lot of agency for players, which would solve one issue that we have where we're kind of forced to do maps that we don't want to do. And another thing, I completely agree with Try about what he was saying about the completionist aspect of the end game. I think that right now, one of the biggest points or focal points of the Infinite Atlas is the exploration part of it. It's cool to explore this like infinite world, but right now we don't have an incentive to really do that. We have a few incentives, right? Finding those like citadels or those specific map bosses, or we need to get like, lineage support gems and stuff like that. But I really do think, especially after playing PoE 1 for quite a bit, is that, map completion and Atlas points just go hand in hand so well in that game. And I think that it would really complement the system of the Infinite Atlas in PoE 2. It would incentivize exploration, doing towers, jumping to different maps, finding those less desirable maps just to get the point for them. I don't know. I just think it would work really well for what they've already created. What do you guys think?
My opinion has flipped, by the way.
Really? Oh.
It's funny because we were also talking about this. You're like, Cal's the type of person where like on a podcast, he might have a certain opinion and during the podcast and he'll try to die on that hill. But then afterwards, he's that person who's like, maybe they have a point, and start like thinking about it a little bit more and like continue like, maybe it might not be that bad.
Please elaborate.
It's almost like that's a very, it's almost like that's a very healthy way of reflecting about stuff. Holy shit!
It's good. Yeah, please.
It was more specifically, I had a discussion with someone else. I mean, obviously, I rewatched the podcast, especially episodes like that where the comments are so contentious. And I rewatched that, and I talked about it with some of my viewers, and it was like really like when we started diving, like they were explaining the 40 out of 40. Because that's way more exciting to me, obviously, but that's like the entry point to setting up the 40 out of 40. It's like, this is your first task you complete these Atlas points, it's setting you up for this. It's not necessarily a checklist, but it is essentially like, it's getting you in that, like, these are your goals, and then now you have the 40 of 40 challenges, and those are like way more, that's what I was originally trying to say was, I want something more, if I need a checklist, it needs to be more challenging, like the 40 out of 40, and well, that sounds cool to me, the 40, like, I want those, like, I want both, though. Yes, my opinion has flipped, sorry. Go ahead.
The biggest
Rabbit.
problem is that like sorry, Rabbit. Just to add on is that when you get to the end game, there's no direction essentially, and so by having that little bit of a push to explore, get your Atlas points from map completion, stuff like that, it just gives the player a little bit of guidance, and I think that's all that we need is we need a little bit more guidance in the end game just to kind of keep players kind of grinding and playing the game more. Sorry, Rabbit. Go for it, bro.
No, it's all good. I think it is going to be salvaged. I think they are gonna keep the Infinite Atlas because it's not as bad as sometimes it is made out to be. And I think it's also something that they have admitted that is definitely a part that they are mostly working on, and that is a very big focal point of what they are working on, because that is exactly what they have been saying, that this the whole endgame thing is definitely what is going to be the focus for now. What annoys me about the system that we have right now, about the Infinite Atlas, it doesn't annoy me, but where I'm just missing the point of it a little bit is that you talked about the point of exploration. I don't think there is any exploration. It's just like you get on the Atlas and you are basically just like, the first thing you do when you get on the Atlas is, okay, now I need my points, so I'm just hunting for corrupted nexus. That's the first thing you do. Then afterwards, when you have all your Atlas points or whatever, then you're just basically hunting for corrupted zones to cleanse them, to have the best maps possible. Sometimes you're going for the citadels or whatever you're doing. But what it is supposed to be, I feel like it's not really hitting off what it should be. There should be like the way of, oh, this is an area and this area is a water biome and this has this specific stuff, so I would like to go into this area with this, and this is harder because I get more loot here. But it's kind of a skin for me on a system that could be solved pretty much like much easier. Like every third or fourth map you do is a cleansed map because you have to do like the travel maps to it. So I just don't get the point a little bit of it. But I think it's gonna look vastly different very soon. I think the Infinite Atlas and what the Atlas is. And I think a very big part of it is we just need more quality of life for it. Because me, as someone who's like very prone to like OCD type stuff, what I absolutely hate about the Atlas at one point is that I'm everywhere, and I'm like 2 months into a league, and you have done like 2,000 maps or whatever. It's so big, and you have so many filler areas, because why would you do this area right here, right around your starting point? Why would I do this area when the next corrupted or like cleansed area is like right around the corner if I just go 2 or 3 more maps further, right? So that is what I don't get. There's so much filler space. And also on top of that, we just need more QOL. We need to be able to not only do bookmarks, we need to be able to search, we need to be able to maybe zoom out a little bit more and traverse the Atlas in a better way. Because if they want to keep it the way that it is right now, we need to be able to traverse it less annoyingly, if that makes sense. But my main issue is all the filler areas. Because what is the point of doing these maps in this area where there's no cleanse, there's no corrupted, or whatever that is? I just think it would be cool if you want to do an Infinite Atlas. Why not have more areas like that? And just this area is corrupted, but right next to it, it's like the Itziri area, where it's like every map has mobs with 4 boobs. Or like the next area you go, this is like the frozen area or whatever. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities of doing it this way. And I know it's kind of funny that we talk about it now, because they said they are actively working on it. It's probably one of their biggest focal points to add on to that. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they have in store, I have to say.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, right? I think that
Oops.
like yeah, exactly. Especially being where I am right now, it's a topic that's on my mind a lot. It's very at the forefront. But not talking about that specifically. We can go on about that in a different podcast.
Privately, yeah.
Privately, yes. We can talk about it offline. But I'm thinking about it from a standpoint of like excitement, right? I think I remember very specifically, like, and I don't know, maybe this is not the case if you're like specifically hunting for citadels, it might not be exciting. But there was a point in the time where, as I was mapping, whenever I did find citadels, it was very exciting, because I'm like, oh shoot, yes, finally some good money, right? That's like, that part was like really, really awesome for me. And I think that's like something that maybe is lacking when you're mapping. Maybe if you're going purely for citadel farming, it might still exist, but like that doesn't really exist all that much when I'm going through the Atlas. And I think that might be something that is missing from traversing the Atlas. That moment of like, oh my gosh, I found this thing. It's super awesome. That's super exciting. And like trying to find more ways to build that into the mapping process and traversal process might be one of the keys to making mapping a lot more enjoyable. Because right now, it's like what you said, right? When you're mapping, then let's not talk about citadels, right? When you're just mapping, you're mostly just aiming for those corrupted areas. And let's be face it, I mean, like, I don't want them to be more rare, but at the same time, right now, as they are, they're not very rare at all. So it's not like super exciting to find them per se. It's just like, oh yeah, there's probably another one a couple maps away. Like, we'll find it. So if you're just like mapping wise, there's nothing that's really that exciting for you to find. Again, maybe a citadel every now and then would be exciting, but like, there's nothing, like, if you want that traversal aspect to be like a core part of the gameplay experience, you need to make traversal actually rewarding, but also the process of traversal fun, right? There's one part of it where it's like, and they've sort of fixed that, where it's like, let's just say, sort of, because like, even if you're grand project hopping. I think a lot of people don't use tablets on maps that they're not really farming, right? And even with like corrupted zone mapping, like if you're not in a corrupted zone, you're not going to spend your good tablets there. You're going to save your good tablets for when you hit the corrupted zone. So it's like finding a way to bridge that gap to where it's equally as fun to find the maps or the areas that you're looking for, and making that as fun as actually clearing those areas. And again, in the corrupted zone, might not even that fun clearing the areas. So it's like finding that excitement to like when you find that certain thing you're looking for, but also making the process of looking for that thing a lot more fun. And I think that's really missing right now in the current state of the Atlas.
They've done that a little bit though, with like corruption being the plus level map, so you're getting higher XP and whatnot and higher base item levels. And then with the cleansed area, you have more like rarity basically, so you're getting more currency and whatever. But there's nothing else. Like no other biome has any sort of reward for exploring them. So I love what you're saying here. Like, what if each biome had some sort of intrinsic value where you're actually hunting for, maybe a specific unique, and those uniques drop in a specific biome or whatever. Like, just kind of brainstorming here. But I love that idea of making it more like, where am I going? Because what reward can I get from that area, basically?
I mean, they kind of sort of have that a little bit with like the corrupted area boss dropping Death Articulator or whatever. But that's like way too rare and inconsistent to actually even think about as a viable option to make money. And that's the other thing too, right? It's like, you only have like a couple options to make money. It's like mapping, you only want cleansed areas. And then like even within those cleansed areas, those +1 areas, you're not really thinking about it too much unless you're like negative rarity farming to get that stuff. Whereas like the others, and then the other one's like Citadel farming, then doing that, right? So it's like, it's very limited. And I just had this in my mind right now. I'm sorry, this might be derailing the podcast, but like, I'm like, wait a second, why are we talking about all this trade stuff when we have Blaze on the podcast?
I mean, I'm always down to talk about SSF and hardcore anytime, boys. I'm an open book.
I mean, we've had like hardcore or had SSF talks too many times the last few weeks. That's why we weren't diving into it. Yeah. Because Rabbit started his SSF dive. For me, the Atlas has two big problems with its exploration, which is what Rabbit was just complaining about. One, your direction does not matter. Doesn't matter if you go up, down, left, or right. So it doesn't, like, your choice in which way you go has no point. And the other thing is distance from the center has no impact as well. Once you get like, I think it's like 20 to 30 maps away, you start spawning citadels, and then there's no change after depth from that. So you're not really exploring. It doesn't matter which way you go. It doesn't matter how far you go.
True.
You can go 30 feet out and then just go in a circle and spiral out for all you care. Like, I don't know if they need to like have like, if you go north, you're going to go into these like, corrupted biomes. If you go to the west, you're going to go into the like water biomes or whatever. And I don't know if they need depth having more like of a value, because it doesn't matter how far you go. Nothing really changes. The only exploration you have from the Infinite Atlas right now, I feel like where you can like kind of navigate, is farming Jade Isles. You find a river and you follow a river and you will find many Jade Isles. And that's really the only visual like targeting you can do for exploration, but that can happen in any direction. That's like that. We just, but
I was saying, I don't know if you were thinking about this aspect of it or in this way when you're talking about that, but when you're talking about going further from the center and finding more stuff, it makes me think about like Minecraft or like Terraria or something. I don't know if you were talking about it, thinking about it in this perspective, but it really does. Like if you think about like Minecraft or Terraria or like those type of games, they reward exploration, and it is fun to explore the areas and go to different parts of the world to get these things. Like you're digging deeper to get closer to the bottom to get all the diamonds. You're exploring the world in Minecraft to get to different biomes or like find villages or things like that. So it's like that really does reward exploration, and you do feel excited from exploring and finding those areas, where you don't do that at all. You don't have that feeling at all in Path of Exile. And it's like, maybe it's something that they could take a look at and like probably take some inspiration from.
Yeah, I had a discussion with a viewer the other day, and there's no meaning to the Atlas in like in the exploration sense. Like why does it matter which way you go? Like, I'm a big Delve fan. I talk about it every week how I want Delve on this podcast now. And like what you like the depth matters in Delve. You know, you hit a certain depth and then you just go side to side and you hunt Crystal Kings, and like that's always fun every time you hit a Crystal King. That's very small in scale compared to the Infinite Atlas, though. It's going to be hard to capture that, but that's just one thing I liked about Delve is just the depth matters, and it like it's not just that like going farther makes you find new stuff, but I don't know if you could do difficulty scaling with distance from the Atlas. I think that would be cool, but that might be too hard for the new player to understand conceptually, that like the further you're getting away, things are getting harder and harder, like via some weird scaling system. But yeah, just distance does not matter and direction doesn't matter at all.
That's exactly what I meant by there is like it seems like, or the original intention of something like the Infinite Atlas is probably the exploration factor. But for me, and obviously for you as well, I don't think exploration exists in that sense. It's just it's a system overlaid onto another system that if we had a system of just like, oh, this is like your drop down menu of maps, and you have to do these maps to get to the corrupted area, to get to the cleansed area, to get to the citadel. That would basically be the same thing. We just have a world map kind of skin on it.
Yeah.
So I just wish that that is more that factor is more explored, and I really like the idea of having not only scaling but also actual things to discover, and that the map actually means something. Not only and the Jade Isles thing is a perfect example, and probably also the other stuff like, oh, this is a sandy beach, and if I just go on the sandy beach areas and those biomes, I'll probably just get sandspit maps or whatever. Like that 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 has a lot of potential in my opinion. It just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, and it needs just more stuff added. And I think then the system can, because we started this topic with, can it be salvaged? I think so. Yes, I absolutely think so. It can be salvaged. There were definitely things like the towers or some other systems where GGG admitted themselves. They said, oh yeah, maybe this might not be it, and we're gonna start again on that one. I don't think the Infinite Atlas is that bad that it needs to be like, oh, we need to completely cancel this. I think there is a lot of stuff in there that has very, very great potential. And like I said, we are, as gamers and as PoE2 players and as like podcasters and professional or not so professional yappers, we're very good at like finding all the problems. I say this every week. We're very good at identifying problems. We're not very good at solving these problems. And that is where I personally put my full trust in GGG, because I have seen what they've done so far. This is one of the most amazing games that I've ever played, and I'm just excited. And why I'm always also so critical is because I want this game to improve even more. I want to play this for the next hopefully like 10 years, maybe even more. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they have in store.
Yep. Okay. Talking more on like the exploration aspect of making things like, as you explore more, it changes. We clown on this game a little bit especially with the recent times, but I do think Last Epoch also kind of has a little bit of that where, you with the timeline stuff, you go into certain areas and then you like move into like a separate timeline, making it harder. Like that is also another kind of like aspect of that as well. And I'm thinking like, it doesn't have to be this way. And like, this is just a very rudimentary form of it and just a very like one-to-one of it. But like finding ways where like, if you want to progress through different layers of the Atlas, and it's like down or up in direction, like to help you decide like what difficulty you want certain things to be. But like, maybe find a way. It's like, oh, this is like a entrance to like, a lower level or like a harder area or a harder level of the Atlas that is more rewarding, that does scale the content or like changes it in a different way or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like you put something on your atlas, it resets it back to base, and then you're now doing the atlas again, but it's got modifiers on it or something.
Yeah,
Some
so
way to give
Prestige.
you like some
This sounds
change
like Call
there.
of Duty Prestige.
Yeah, prestiging. We're prestiging the atlas. Oh no. Yeah.
Prestige Atlas. I like that
Yeah,
though. I like
that would be
like
cool.
the whole idea about restarting the Atlas. I like that because this is just like me personally again, but I really hate when the Atlas when you have explored too much. I don't like that because I get
We need
like
filters so
flustered
bad
by
for
that.
it.
I get flustered by that. It's just I
One of the
I don't
biggest
like.
things for me for this patch is if I can't search like epitaph, I just type it in and I can just hit enter and it'll like teleport me to them. If we don't have a search for the atlas, I'm gonna be so sad.
It's doomed.
It's doomed. So I want to talk real quick hardcore solo self-found since we do have Blaze. We have been all yapping about it lately, and we talk about specifically the scarcity of loot when it comes to crafting, especially at League Start, making your gear and stuff. We are all, I guess, hardcore solo self-found tourists. So as one of the local residents, what are your thoughts on the loot scarcity inside of hardcore solo self-found? Are you wanting to see more currency drops like we are?
Well, I mean, yes, always more currency. I mean, anytime you get more currency, it's a good time. But the thing is, like, I've been playing HCSSF since point one, and it's so much better than it was in point one. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to acknowledge that, like, when you're playing hardcore and solo self-found, it is a self-imposed challenge. That being said, like, it was almost unplayable in point one. Like we were still grinding, you know, like 90s and stuff like that and T15s and stuff, but like it felt really bad. Like we were Exile starved constantly in the end game. We had to be very specific about what gear we were going to slam. And now it doesn't feel like that at all. It actually feels like loot is just like so much better. So it's funny, in my perspective, like, hardcore solo self-found is just good now. Like, it's actually playable, it's actually viable, it feels nice. But I guess for people who are just jumping into it for the first time, you're still experiencing that like scarcity that is just a byproduct of the self-imposed challenge that you get with the game style. But yes, more loot, please, always.
Ruthless. It was just also what we were talking about, and what I just discovered from my perspective is a mix between my first experience with hardcore SSF and like the general way. And I've had two very, very differentiating experiences when it came to campaign now the last 2 weeks, because I started doing hardcore SSF for the first time, and I actually took like 2 to 3 hours for an act, and I actually went to town every single time. Every level I checked vendors, I disenchanted, I did that. And that was when I kind of realized, damn, I'm still like, it's still pretty scarce. And most of the stuff that I'm wearing on my character is still the stuff that is being dropped to me, and I just have. And all the exals that I have, I'm kind of like, it's my babies, and I have to watch it like that. And then I went into the whole mode that I'm in right now, which is just campaign running as fast as possible, just for the League Start softcore trade kind of thing. And there it's like extrapolated, because then there you're just rushing through, and it's just like, yeah, this has been dropped to me in Act 2. It was kind of good. I slammed like 2 exalts on it. I'm keeping it until Act 4. What I have said before on the podcast, what I just like to have more is it's just like that I have this thing about an ARPG that I love so much in Endgame, which is itemizing my character. I would just like that in campaign. And that experience that I had in hardcore SSF, where I actually itemized my character a little bit more because I took the time, I just want that, but not just when you take 3 hours to finish an act. I want this to be also in a way where I'm just getting a little bit more opportunities to put stuff onto my items, and to maybe even have a choice sometimes between 2 items or whatever. And I think that would be I think that would be positive, but also at the same time, it is a very slippery slope, because if it's just like loot piñatas all the time, then it's probably something that I would complain about again on the podcast. So it's
there would be no challenge.
It's such a hard thing to balance. Yeah,
Totally.
exactly. So I totally get it in the hardcore SSF context because it is the self-imposed challenge. I just think it would be more fun. I think it would be more fun. And what I also said is I'm especially worried when the Abyss loot is gone. That is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, that is one of the reasons why 0.3 felt so good for SSF players was because there were these like guaranteed things that we would get from like Abyss, basically. Like you get your Greater Jeweler's Orb in Act 4 and stuff like that. I will say though, in terms of scarcity, the 3 things that I think they really need to work on in 0.4 are more runes or some sort of way to get runes into gear to solve those issues for SSF
about that
players.
a lot.
Yeah, I'm beating a dead horse here. Another one that I don't hear gets talked about as much in terms of scarcity is actually precursor tablets. Like as soon as they made the tower change in 0.3.1, it created this massive scarcity for precursor tablets for new characters. And it's such a pain to be fresh in maps and wanting to run content, run ritual, breach, whatever, but you can't actually do it because you don't have tablets. So, and they just haven't changed that since the tower changes. So I really want to see that because that is a huge issue in terms of scarcity. And then just support gems. Like I feel like as an SSM player, I don't know if you experience this as well, Rabbit, in your playthroughs, but it feels like you're very limited in terms of support gems and trying to just try out different combinations of things. As it felt a lot different in 0.2 or in 0.1 where we just had tons of tier 1 support gems and tier 2s and tier 3s. So those are the 3 things that I think that really need to take a look at for 0.4 in terms of item scarcity.
It really
Real quick, are you a crash being benched down?
No, I personally don't think that they need to do a crafting bench as long as they fix like their
runes.
like actual like version of the crafting bench, which is runes. Yeah, like right now I can see why a lot of people want it. It's because the alternative, which is runes and whatever, it doesn't have that like accessibility a lot of the time. It's really gated to RNG. And so, yeah, that's a huge issue. I don't know why there's so many like attribute runes dropping right now when like they lowered the attribute requirements of like skills, like weapons and all that kind of stuff. So just adjust those sliders, make it so that those are dropping less and resistance and iron runes are dropping more, and it should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, going back on the precursor tablet stuff, right? And I don't know how much experience you have with scarabs, but like scarabs and precursor tablets work very similarly. And I was wondering if you had an experience or thoughts about how it felt to do like, and I don't know how solo self-found characters do in Path of Exile 1. Like, do they run a ton of scarabs? Do they not? Like, is it like a luxury thing? It's like whenever we have scarabs, we run it, but most of the time we don't. Like, I don't know what that whole dynamic is. Because from what I can tell, scarabs are even more so. Like, it's only a one-time use. So it's like SSF players, it's like, whoa, like you probably don't even like, you can probably never really target farm certain scarabs, right? Of course, there's certain things on the Atlas tree that can make you drop a lot more of the scarabs that you're doing. But still, it's kind of like, if you're like, let's say you really want to do like ritual farming or like, I don't know, what is it called? Expedition,
yeah.
right? It's like, are there any ways for people to like get more scarabs for that, or is it really just like whenever I get scarabs, it's a nice thing to have, but if not, it's not. I don't do it because I mean I guess there is like the map crafting, right? On the map, you could be like, hey, I'm going to pay a certain amount of chaos orbs to get that guaranteed to my map, but like, yeah, it's pretty expensive, but I don't know how the scarab system in solo self-found works. I don't know if you have much of experience there.
So with PoE 1, there's a lot of differences in terms of like how you can like tailor your endgame experience. Like with the Atlas tree specifically, you can invest points into scarab drops. You can invest points into the specific content that you want to appear more in your maps as well. And I think all of these things just amalgamate into like you being able to do specifically, like if you wanted to do Legion only, you could farm Legion specific scarabs and see Legion every single map because of the way you did your Atlas tree, basically. I never got to that point because I only made it to like T15s and I wasn't like deep endgame, like specific mechanic farming, but there is like totally a way to do that in SSF and have like enough scarabs and stuff to do that. Yeah, so PoE 2 just doesn't have as much tailoring right now for what you want to do.
Yeah, and the only way to guarantee a certain map mechanic is by having that specific tablet. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that specific tablet, then
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're muted, Cal.
Sorry, muted my mic there.
Muted.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, that Farmer was biggest complaint about tablets was the ranges they can roll.
Yeah, that's mainly
Yeah.
because of the fact that it's like really hard to buy tablets because there is a range you can roll. And if there isn't a range, you can put it into the currency exchange. That was the main argument there for that.
Right, gotcha. I
And
forgot what we
also
talked about
there's
that.
and also there's a lot of tablets that are just kind of useless, and it's so much filler that just doesn't need to be there. Why can't tablets just be? I get it that there is always a way. It's the same for itemization, whether it's a weapon, whether it's a body armor or whatever. Of course there always needs to be a range. Otherwise we're all like playing PoE communism and everyone has the same everything. But I don't know on the tablets. I think it's a little bit, and this might be unfair again because this is probably something they're actively working on, and the whole tower change was probably a very big band-aid fix where they maybe have not considered what it will do to the tablets, and I fully expect the tablet system to be completely reworked in the next patch. I don't. Let's see if it's still tablets or whatever, but I expect it to move much closer to what PoE 1 is in terms of scarabs or tablets or whatever you might want to call them. But yeah, specifically that thing is also something because there is so many tablets that will drop and it's like 3% instead of 15%. And if you multiply it by 3, that is a big margin, or like a big difference. And as we mostly all know, since most 90% of PoE players, even though they hate it, put Delirium onto their maps because it's just a more efficient way of doing maps because you get more loot and the tablets and what else. It's just then even if I drop 100 tablets and 10 of those are usable, it's just kind of why have the other 90? I don't know. I get having a range a little bit, but why do I need to pick up the other 90 and put them into the Reforger to maybe have a chance to get one of the 10s? I don't get that a lot because it's not a fun system. It's not like something like items or whatever where you actually then can maybe craft on it and find a way to improve that item or to, I don't know, even corrupting it or whatever. But that, especially the tablet system, it's not a fun system. It seems like a little bit of a nuisance right now. And I hope that there's more agency in the player's hand in the future to actually put unique stuff onto your map, like that it's actually like a unique experience and it's not just every map is kind of the same. You have like rarity tablets and then you put Delirium on there and it's just like, and we're all playing the same maps basically. I would love, in that case it's probably the most I want a PoE 1 system in PoE 2.
I mean, it was my divine sink as an SSF player was just re-rolling, like, because after they did the 0.3.1 like update, they actually like increased the like variables of each like precursor tablet so that they could roll higher to kind of supplement for the lack of juicing you could do with towers, right? And so like as I was pushing into like the 97, 98 like levels, you want every single percent XP tablet to be as high as possible. And so that was where I was spending all my divines, was just like trying to get tablets with 20% XP rolls on them, essentially. So yeah.
Yeah, tablets are rough. Hopefully that's getting a big change. I think we got transitioned us well to the wish list. How long are we into the podcast? I've lost track of time.
About an hour.
A little over an hour?
10.
Okay, cool. We're good on time then. So yeah, for 0.4 wish list, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're all desperate for outside. Like, we talked about the obvious with the Endgame rework, but there's a certain quality of life that we all are desperate to see. I think Reddit has made it clear we want the Delirium fog nerfed in a substantial way. For me, the Atlas tree has to be reworked. Like, I just complete overhaul. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. I know we're all talking about the content itself. Like, we really want more endgame content. The endgame loop has become stale after a year of it, especially after the nerf bosses. But yeah, after we talked, so even today we talked about the Atlas tree from PoE 1, and after experiencing it in 3.27 and 3.26, it's just, they're not comparable. Like, the Atlas tree in PoE 1 is, or PoE 2 is like, it's a joke. That's the biggest quality of life I'm looking for. Just, or wish list, I guess, is the Atlas tree just gone, brand new.
Agree. Completely agree.
Right, that's a very very sensible and humble wish list right there.
Well, there's
That's
more,
all.
but I
That's
wanted
your
to
letter
give you
to
guys
Santa.
opportunities
Oh,
to give
okay.
your wish
Okay.
list.
Yeah,
I have a lot more things I want fixed.
let's toss it over to Blaze. I know he put a list together on his own.
Yeah, so when I was on the
Oh, yeah.
wonderful Tokyo subway on the way here today, I put together a little bit of a list, and we actually covered quite a few of these things already in sort of our endgame sort of discussion. So I'll skip over those ones. But the one thing that I really want to see, and this is something that I actually wanted to see in 0.3, and I didn't get that much of, was just improved and additional unique items. I still feel like a lot of these unique items that we have in the game are pretty lackluster. And so I'm really hoping that we see more build defining items and really exciting unique items in 0.4, like a lot of them, because we need more of those. And then another thing that I wanted to see would be a skill gem and low level currency vendor, especially after playing PoE1. Like, it's so nice to have that vendor where you can trade up, whatever you need to get regals, like transmutes, augs, and stuff like that. Especially, league start. It's nice to be able to get, just those extra bits of currency. And I feel like there's not really a way to do that. And so it would be crazy to see that in the game, but I think that that would be something that I would really enjoy and a lot of people would enjoy. And just a fun one for me that I thought would be really great, especially as a hardcore player, would be notifications on league start for first pinnacle boss kills and deaths. So like, how when you're doing a race, you see like Angormus get into the, next zone. He's the first one, his name pops up. I would love to see a name pop up when you kill a pinnacle boss, like the first person to kill Arbiter, the first person to get clapped by Arbiter. Like, everybody should know, like, that guy just was the first guy to die to Arbiter. I think that that's awesome. Like, it'd be super cool. And just a small thing that they could, yeah, like more stuff like that where you can just like compare yourself to other players. Your name pops up, stuff like that. And then another thing would be defensive layers. So where's our fortify? Where's our spell suppression? Like, get those things in the game. I hope that with like the druid and like the tree being reworked in that side of the tree, we see some, stuff like fortify and spell suppression as well.
I mean, with that stuff, with like the layers and stuff, I do think it's really good for like depth, but at the same time, I also think for like newer players, it can get a little bit complicated. Again, I do get, like when I was playing PoE1, I did get a lot of like, hey, I've been like maxing out my armor in my life, but I still feel like I'm getting chewed through like paper. I don't know what to do. Like, that's the nice thing about PoE1, where it's like, you know what you need to do to increase your defenses. Get your res to max, get more armor, get more health. Or it's like, get your res to max, get more energy shield. Get
You're
your
talking about PoE2 or PoE1?
PoE2. It's like really easy for you to like know what you need, right? It's like, get your res to max, get armor if you're like a strength health character, right? For int character, get your res to max, get more energy shield. Evasion character, get your res to max, get your evasion. So it's like very simple and easy to understand. Whereas in PoE2 or PoE1, it was a lot more difficult to like really understand what you needed to do to like actually survive content. It's like, oh, it's because, you didn't get spell suppression, you get spell block, you didn't get like, on top of getting armor, you also need to get like this, that, all these things to actually like increase. Like, oh, you need 8 endurance charge, you need fortify up to like 25, you need like,
I love all that stuff. As a person who like loves looking at defenses as like the first and foremost priority for my character over damage, I feel like the more layers that we have that all interwork together to create like a tanky ass character, I think it's super cool. And then there's different ways you can kind of get through those things. It just creates a more interesting puzzle. And that's kind of what these characters are just puzzles that we're trying to solve. And so I'm all for like more difficulty in the puzzle, but I know what you mean. Like, for newer players, especially, like, I think that all these layers really, really matter in terms of like late game. But when you're playing through the campaign, resistances and your like layer of defensive choice is all you really need, right?
Yeah, but like even like early maps up to like even let's say like T5, you're gonna start feeling it if you don't have those layers.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's about finding a way to bridge that gap to where it's like, it's not as bad as quickly, but I don't really know how to fix it. Again, I always say this, but GG has the hardest job to try to find a way to make things, there to have enough depth, but also be accessible enough for like these more newer casual players to come in and actually try to learn the game without having to consult all these guides.
Totally. And like, yeah, there are some defensive layers that aren't like needed until like you're doing T17s. Like spell suppression is one of them where like that's like the icing on the cake for your build. And so I feel like, yeah, it just gives you more stuff to kind of work with and just extends the grind, which is, you know, the fun part of the game, right?
Yep. I mean, we always talk about it, right? Increasing the ceiling rather than making the difficulty harder across the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your
Any
best thoughts on
reworks
that?
you had? I mean, I think the defensive layers suck in this game. I think they suck. I'm very hyped for this patch. I think armor energy shield hybrid has a real possibility to be like I feel like this patch is setting us up for like some more hybrid play. I think evasion is just in the dumpster though. Like pure evasion is just awful. It needs a lot of help. But I feel like we're hopefully about to enter an era of armor energy shield hybrid. The druid area is primed for recoup builds. It would be nice if recoup was cooler. I really hope life stacking is not getting gutted, but because of like how popular Wrathpith combos are, you don't know what they're gonna like. If they're, I want them to
your
buff
fault,
life
Rabbit.
stacking, but they're not going to with Wrathpith being so powerful. So it's rough.
Do you guys think that we could see
think we
life
need
on the
more
tree in 0.4?
No, not with Wrathpith being how good it is right now.
I also just don't think it's the direction they want to go in.
Really? Okay.
I don't think we will. I think they're really avoiding it, which sucks because I like life stacking builds. I don't know if I were to have like the way I wanted to play this next patch, it would be like a life stacking bear. Like I just want to be a beefy, tanky bear, and that sounds fun. But
I don't even think it's just life stacking. It doesn't need to be like your life stacking 8,000, 9,000, 10k life.
yeah, life armor hybrid.
Yeah, I just don't want to rely as much on stuff like energy shield as much as I do now. That's kind of my point. Because the reason I'm like a very caster focused player, so everything that has happened in PvE2 so far has benefited me so much because I always just default to energy shield. And for example, when you say that evasion is in the dumpster, my immediate reaction was like, oh, for me it isn't, but that's because I'm playing evasion energy shield hybrid. And
Yeah, hybrid.
yeah. So I would just like more stuff. I don't need like the same like 0.1 mana stacking those values in terms of mana just onto life. I don't need that. I just want to feel fine on a character if it's just life. I think that should be an option. I think it should be an option that I just have life. I don't have to rely on energy shield. I maybe only have armor, maybe some evasion. I don't know. Maybe armor evasion hybrid. I want that to be good. I want armor energy shield hybrid to be good. And I want even the possibility of maybe just life with armor to be good, for example. I just think there is some more room to grow. And I think a way of doing that is giving us more option to scale life on the tree. And then maybe there is a mechanic maybe there is a mechanic that means like, oh, the more life you have, the more armor you have, or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be
And
cool.
then already it's like, oh, I see possibilities there. Other than when I'm theory crafting druid right now with my chat, it's how can
Yes.
I just move out of the druid area as fast as possible to go up into the energy shield area.
That's what I'm
Especially
thinking,
with
bro.
the
It
endgame
sucks. Yeah.
especially
That
with
is
the
my
endgame
theory
rework.
crafting on druid. It's like when you do like something that doesn't start in the ranger huntress area. You're like, oh, how do I get into this area as fast as possible? And that is not what the passive tree should be. It should be where you start. That is perfect for your character, and you will get strong in that area. That is a big wish of mine as well. I'm excited for druid. I'm personally someone I'm excited for strength in probably one of the most, because I'm excited for that play style that is implied in the whole strength in thing. I'm a big Templar enjoyer, even though we don't have it yet, but I'm waiting for the Templar. I really want to try that out. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And like Kalturak said, it's just sad. We have armor energy shield here in the game, which is just like you can, like most people are even in the item filter, whether it's campaign or endgame, it's just filtered out. It's just gone. We have armor evasion, which is just like gone. It doesn't exist for most people, and that's just sad. It's just like the discussion that we had on uniques. There are so many uniques that are just non-existent in our minds, even though someone sat there at GGG headquarters. Someone sat there, they designed the unique. They said, oh, this is the name, this is the lore of the unique. They made like a cool design, and then it's just like, oh, damn, this unique dropped. Yeah, whatever. It's just, it's just sad. When stuff makes it into the game and someone put their life, sweat and blood into that, it should be something that people are getting excited about. And yeah, we just need more like that. And like Blaze said, I am also someone, I want more good and usable uniques. I think that is the basis of it. And I saw the message in my chat earlier, and it has been something that I've radicalized basically over the past few weeks about, is remove plus skills on weapons, on weapons. That would make so many uniques usable. It would make so many uniques usable, because it's like people would look at the game completely different all of a sudden, because this unique might actually be good now because it's not completely nullified by a rare with +4 melee skills. It would just be amazing. My number one wish, by the way, though, is performance. I have to say. It's not a gameplay thing. It's not a strictly game unique items or whatever thing. My personal thing is performance needs to be better. I know it's an early access game. We're using this excuse for a while now. For me, the game needs to run better. I have a pretty good PC, I would say. I have like the 9800 X3D and a 9070 XT, which is one of the newest Radeon graphics card and whatever. And I think, like, even though I'm streaming, but sometimes that is just the thing that annoys me the most in Endgame. It's performance. Because gameplay-wise, like, the game is very, very good. It takes away from the game, just like the Delirium Fog takes away from the visual beautiness of the game. Bad performance takes away from the game, however good it may be.
Somewhat of the middle of the road PC, like it's absolutely my number one wish list. It was my thing, and I put in the try video. So did Blaze.
Mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, Blazes too. The performance max. Like we need
perform max, boys. There. Damn. Yeah. If 0.4 was nothing else but performance increases, I would still play the shit out of it, just because it would allow me to play more of the game, which is all we really want, right? And yeah, so not that it's going to be that, but that would be very ideal.
Yep. As somebody who has a pretty much top of the line PC, 5090, 9950 XT type of situation, or whatever. Yeah, it's or 9950X. Sorry, yeah, 9950X. It's I still do wish for performance increases. There are still times when, you know, I might not be dipping to the single digits, but it's definitely jarring to go from like triple digits down to like low double digits. And that happens even on a 5090 with pretty much a top of the line CPU. And I know it's not an X3D, but still the difference isn't that big. Like, you know, it's still pretty much at the top end. So
that's crazy that you still have performance issues with the 5090 top end PC. Like, there's something going on there, right?
Yep.
I remember on launch, like, I assume Ziz has an insane setup, and he was getting multiple crashes launch day. Like, it's a performance problem for everybody. I can't imagine what it's like playing on console. I'm sure that's really awful.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, performance is number one for me. One thing I didn't mention from my wish list is, as someone who likes the sorceress mage archetypes, I did 0 builds using infusions this patch, because infusions are the least appealing mechanic in the game to me. Like, even when I saw them on the reveal, I was like, oh, this is just like the Hand of Chayula monk thing, and I hated doing that, so I would hate doing this, and even though there's quality of lives for it. Yeah, I just do not want to interact with the infusion systems. I heard that the numbers on them are really awful in general. So they're just like almost overall complete flop. Have you guys played much with infusions? Because like I just couldn't be bothered.
Nah, I had a buddy who league started Sorceress, Stormweaver, and he was
Oh,
so
rip to that guy.
determined to get infusions to work, and he died multiple times and kept running it back and running it back. And he was like, Mark promised us that the Sorceress and infusions were going to be sick, and they weren't sick. And after watching him play, I was like, I will wait for these guys to cook this a bit more because it just does not look good.
I didn't even try.
Yeah, Blaze's friends catching strays in here. And
I'm not gonna drop names, but I'm sorry, bro. It feels bad.
I think the concept for infusions was amazing. When I saw the reveal and the whole Archon thing, that if you cast enough of a certain
Oh, yeah, that
element
part's
or
cool.
you use the infusion, that looked so cool and has, I think, still has a lot of potential. It's just undercooked. I think when they revealed the infusions on the following podcast episode, I think on that podcast episode we said it's gonna be if there is a way of the infusions, if you actually have an infusion, let's say you have Spark and Frostbomb, for example. If I have the old version of both Frostbomb and Spark, if the infusion now is that I have a slightly better Spark and Frostbomb now with the infusion, and it's just slightly better than what I had before, but the non-infusion version is just worse, I don't know if that's a good system. In my opinion, when you have a system like the infusions, it needs to be something amazing. And it just fell flat a little bit. It was like the concept is so cool and amazing, and I think it could be something that kind of saves the Stormweaver or like Sorceress archetype. But right now, it's just it. And I had it today on my stream as well because people are always asking like, what about Stormweaver? And it's just like everything the Stormweaver does, the Blood Mage just does 10 times better. And that's the baseline of every time you try to do a Stormweaver build, you need to ask yourself, wait, I think this would be better on a Blood Mage. And this goes for most cases where if it's not like mana stacking. And yeah, and that is where it kind of ends. And that is just unfortunate for Stormweaver people.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some builds that use infusions. For example, I always talk about Gia's builds, but Gia's Ember Fusillade build uses infusions, which, it's pretty cool. I do think that, like, for example, Arc builds do take advantage of infusions to make Arc better. So it's not like they don't exist to where it's like, nobody uses infusions. But at the same time, 90% of the time, it's like what you said, right? Do I use infusions or do I just play Blood Mage and just not use infusions and make them, just almost as good, if not better? And the problem is 90% of the time, just play Blood Mage.
Blood Mage is really good. And that just goes like to the crit thing, though. A lot of time, just crit is such a good way to scale, and Blood Mage is awesome at that. Any other wish list you guys have?
I just want I think we said it, and I've said this like probably 690 times now. I just want more challenging endgame content. I want actual challenging endgame content that scales much higher than what we have now. Because it's just that is not only great for me, the no-lifer streamer who likes to play Path of Exile 20 hours a day, like a certain commenter always said. It's good for everyone. It's good for everyone. How is it not fun for everyone to have like these insane Uber bosses with cool mechanics or whatever? Or like every time, now I tried like this completely juiced up Insano map, and I die a few times, but then after the fourth try, I'm actually able to. I just want, for me, it's just the key to my personal retention or like player retention in Path of Exile 2. It's just I want more challenging stuff. I want always something to look at on the horizon for me to still do. I'm so happy I found my love for HCSSF now, because that's gonna be my fallback if that isn't the case now in the next
dude,
update.
let's go.
My fallback is always now just gonna be hardcore SSF, because that's basically what it is. It's just like, there's always something. There's always something. So yeah, I just want, but I want, for me, it's like I think I talk with Miso about Lost Ark sometimes. For me, Lost Ark, just like a very, very random example right now, the raids, aka the boss fights in Lost Ark, were fucking amazing. I don't need that as a group. I don't mean group play, but something like that, Uber bosses like that, would just like for me that would be everything that I need um in terms of just boss content. Having actual boss fight, like 3 or 4 minute boss fights where you have to do certain mechanics, and that would just be enough for me, because even if it takes me like 50 tries to kill one of those bosses, for me, just personally, that is something that I strive for. I really like that type of content where you smash your head against the wall 50 times and you just try and try again, and you improve and you improve, and then finally you get it. I don't even need like a big reward for it. Like it's just like I can say to myself, yes, I did it. I finally played this boss. And there's just nothing like that in PoE2 at the moment. There is literally nothing like that, because the bosses, the pinnacle bosses, who are by their name supposed, like the name implies greatness, and there's a pinnacle, right? And it's just like, it's not that. It's just like, it's a training dummy. I kill it in 0.5 seconds to get like the loot. And I want big bosses with faces, Maven, Uber, Shaper. I don't care however you call it. I want that. That's a very personal thing for me.
I mean, I don't think you need to even look that far. You can just look at Maven in PoE1, and you get a lot of those Lost Ark-esque raid mechanics from that fight that, you know, will kind of satisfy you. But I think there's another thing that we need to think about too when it comes to that aspect. I think a lot of it comes down to, well, for one, in Lost Ark, you know, even when you're uber geared, you still have times between like phasing the boss where they are doing kind of some mechanics. And that's one of the things, right? There are a lot of phases in Path of Exile 1 bosses where you hit a point where you can't do any damage to the boss and they're doing some sort of mechanic. And I know a lot of people hate that, including me, but that is a lot of times where you do start to get some of those mechanics into the fight, where it's not just like, okay, I go in and disintegrate the boss in 2 seconds and then it's over. You have those like, okay, well, I'm gonna hit this point and then the boss is gonna phase and do like a mechanic, like Maven does her like, you know, memory game and things like that, which again is a little bit kind of like a double-edged sword, to where like some people are just like, why? Like, for example, I mean, and it has, maybe it just has to do with the fact that the bosses in Path of Exile 2, whenever they phase, they don't do anything. Like when, for example, the Jade Isle boss or whatever, right? When he phases, he yaps for like an entire minute and does nothing, and that's super annoying. Or like when Geonor gets phased, he literally jumps around and does the same attacks forever, and you can't hurt him, and you still get hit, and that's super annoying, right? So it's like, maybe it's not about like getting rid of the phasing, but it's more about like making the phasing actually interesting and introduce interesting mechanics.
Yeah, a good point. Just talking more on the end game, for me, my biggest wish list, I guess, we talked about it earlier with Blaze's wish list, but yeah, it's defensive layers, I guess. Like Rabbit says he likes to build his characters, like, you know, for like the bossing and like being able to like slam into them and stuff. And like, I feel like I like to build more like Blaze, where it's like my defensives, I want to build a tanky character. Like I play mainly melee builds, and yeah, we talked about it already, but like it just, my biggest concern this patch is that when I play my druid, I'm either forced into energy shield or like some form of mana stacking style, because I won't be able to effectively survive this end game rework. You know, we're getting an end game rework. We don't know like if it's adding a layer of difficulty and if this thing's going to be hitting harder, more one shots and stuff. I'm really just worried about like the bottom side of the tree being able to survive the rework. I'm very heavily considering league starting my Bulletstorm Witch Hunter, just because I don't have to risk playing melee, and like just getting like hitting this defensive layer wall where it's like, oh, this is the end of the character, because if I don't transition to energy shield and get 20k ES, you know, I won't be able to survive this content. So it's a defenses for me. We need more defensive viability, I guess.
I wanted to say one thing about the whole thing about disintegrating like a boss like that and the phases. Right now, that is obviously that's what you're referring to. That is the case. That basically every build boils down to how can you kill that? Can you kill the pinnacle boss in 0.2 seconds or 0.3 seconds? But I think having actual bosses that whether with the current builds that we have would even like have phases or take like 3 to 4 minutes. How cool would it be if someone then actually makes a build that disintegrates that boss in 0.5 seconds or like 10 seconds? That would be actually then something cool and maybe even game breaking, and people would be like, "Holy shit! This guy killed Uber X in 10 seconds. What the hell?" Like, because now when you right now when you make a build and you kill Zesht in 1 second, that's like people are wait. I saw Zesht. What kind of shitty build is that? That would it just adds another layer of coolness if we have actual bosses that take a while, even though it just probably means they have infinitely amount more HP or whatever. It's I don't know.
Well, yeah,
It's
some of the
just, it would
bosses should
so
be at
cool.
like 150 million life right now, like plus for like some of these top
Yeah.
builds to get what you're wanting. And if that's the world we have to go to, sure, as long as we're getting challenging content.
And for me, it doesn't even have to be that the only way to get the best loot in the game is doing these bosses. For me, as someone who really enjoys that kind of content, I don't do it for the loot. I don't think so, at least. And I get how it would be kind of unfair or something to more casually focused players, that those bosses would be. I think those could be kind of like challenge modes, and maybe you get like a small border for this league, or you get like a title for this league or whatever. I personally, I just enjoy that as a challenge for myself, because that is why I play video games. I liked Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft. I like Mythic Rating in World of Warcraft. I really like in PoE1. I mostly played leagues to get to get to the Uber bosses and then do the Uber boss and then be like, yeah, I did that. And people always tell me I would probably enjoy Souls games a lot. So it's like that. It's just I think it would be cool for everyone. Cool bosses, which is probably the biggest strong point of PoE2, because we have amazing boss designs in PoE2, and the game just lends itself to having insane boss rooms. I know still when the interludes came and we had, I don't know what the boss was called, but the guy in the big room, it's like close to the Arbiter room. The guy towards the end of the interlude, I think it's interlude 2 or something. I know I still remember when I got into this room, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be, yeah, I think so. I was like, damn, this is gonna be a cool boss. And he was a cool boss. He was actually like kind of challenging and stuff. And this is just this stuff I enjoy. And I hope to see more of it in a game as amazing as PoE2 is.
100%. It's funny because the way that you describe the way that you want bosses is how I felt about the game's bosses when we all started playing, when we all didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
Yes.
And we were playing through the game in point one for the first time and dying over and over again to Jamun Ra or Genor. Those are those moments where you're like, holy shit, like these bosses are actually, I have to lock in. I have to like actually do the mechanics. And I think that that's a huge separation point from PoE2 to PoE1 is like, you actually have to kill the boss, like the first go at it. You can't just die and, you know, do it again with its health at whatever percentage it was when you died, right? And so, you know, I love where your head's at with this rabbit, and I want to have that feeling kind of consistently throughout the campaign into the end game. Because right now, you're absolutely right. It feels like every single build guide is showing a build that's one-shotting the boss, and it just feels like, you know, every build is doing that right now. And that's kind of, it's kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Yeah. I think I have a curveball one here. I don't ever call for a wish list. So like I won't like really ever call for skills to be deleted or removed, but maybe this might be controversial. I would not be upset if Roa mount was deleted from the game. I see too many people saying stuff like give other classes mounts and find ways to make it normalized, and no, I don't ever want to go in that direction. I think I would not be unhappy if Roa was removed from the game, the mount, despite having a really fun Roa mount build. I think I don't like what people are saying about it. I'm seeing too many people say they want mounts for every ascendancy, and please no, please no.
No.
I've only used the Roa
I think
mount
the Roa is
once.
actually in a good state. I think the Roa is in a good state. I actually like are most players using a Roa? No, right?
Well,
Isn't it,
I think
like,
that every
I haven't
single
used
lot
Roa.
for
do.
2 leagues in a row, the top build used Roa mount.
Yeah. Okay.
Roa's really good.
If you think about it this
I
way.
just never used Roa apparently.
Yeah, if you think about it this way,
I'm not Roa adjacent.
I think that Roa is potentially too powerful, but again, I think that a good way to think about it
I
is
don't
that
think
the top builds 2 leagues in a row ever since Roa mount was introduced was
Yeah.
not even the top
I
two.
think that's
I don't
top
have a
one to
problem
just
with
Roa,
Roa
though.
specifically, by the way. My worry is the direction that we're all going to have mounts for every ascendancy now, and I
get
don't
that.
like that
I get-
world.
Your overarching point is not that you just hate Roa right now, but you're worried because it might imply the fact that everything else is going to get scaled towards the Roa as opposed to the Roa gets like
Yes.
adjusted a little bit.
'Cause if
I
you really
personally think
nerf
the Roa
Roa,
is
that'd be
perfectly
bad.
fine.
You can't nerf Roa. If you nerf it, it becomes
No.
like unusable. So it
I
has to
mean,
be
I
as
don't
good as it
necessarily
is.
think that that's the case because there's the thing that Roa actually got buffed between 0.1 or 0.2 and 0.3, which I think is kind of crazy. It got buffed in a way that I was very happy with because when I did use Roa in 0.2 for a little bit, I was like really pissed off that Roa had you couldn't get rid of the stun meter unless you got off the Roa, which actually led me to not use Roa. But it still didn't change the fact that Roa was like on the number 1 and number 2 builds with lightning spear and lightning arrow in 0.2, and then now this league with lightning arrow again. So, and maybe it's just the builds that use Roa are too strong instead of the Roa itself being too strong. But I do think that that's a part of why those builds are strong, is because you can just move through the map and not worry about any of the move speed penalties at all.
Also, the Roa
did
just
say it
looks
was a
goofy
controversial
as
take.
fuck. It just looks silly. like I'm gonna be honest. That thing looks dumb. Like, let's be real here.
It's fun. I like my build.
I didn't expect this, but the Roa subject is actually very contentious. It seems.
I started
by
it
my
saying I
chat.
thought it was going to be controversial because a lot of people like Roa
Yes,
to the point that they're asking
totally.
for it on other ascendancies. Like I've seen multiple
There's-
creators and with like comment sections like, yes, more mounts, more mounts. It's like, no, everyone's going
just
to be
want it
riding mounts. It's
killed.
going to be required.
Well,
Yes,
I think
or
it's
people
just
want it.
it goes down to the fact that everybody just wants more speed, right? More speed, more
Yeah,
movement speed,
for
more
sure.
clear, everything, right? So if you get Roa on every map, every character, I mean, at that point, you just make it default. You just make it so there's no movement speed
Exactly.
penalty
Yes.
when you-
That's
when
my
you-
worry. Is that's
right?
what we're headed
Please
to.
no. Yeah.
Because you can only use certain weapon
It's a-
types on the Roa right now. But if there was a spell casting Roa, and if there was like some melee, oh my god,
melee
I don't
Roa,
want to
dude.
speak them into existence. But yeah,
Because it sounds fun, but you know it's gonna that's just gonna be the game then.
yeah.
Like,
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. I hope not. Oh
I
my
hope
god.
not.
Yeah.
I seriously
If
doubt
we-
it, but yeah.
If we ever
was a
need
cook take.
comment engagement or something, we just talk about Roa because what I'm seeing in my chat is just like
The
people
chat
either
fucking
want
spiked.
to,
That's
want
so
to make
funny,
love
dude.
to the Roa or they want to straight up kill
Yeah.
it. There's no gray.
This is like easily the most controversial thing we've talked about on the podcast. Like this chat immediately spiked with, "You're wrong. No, you're right." Roa.
All right, so we hit a nerve here.
Perfect. Best comment I've seen though is Druid Ostrich form. I like that.
People write it.
Ostrich form Druid. Perfect.
Okay.
There we go. Problem solved.
Is there any other like end game or like build things like that stand out to you that you're like, but we've talked about infusions and Roa. Is there something else like that you think about that like needs some more love? Oh, one thing I did want to talk about is constricting command. Do you guys think it will survive the patch?
0 chance.
It's gonna get deleted like Deepest Tower, right?
0 chance.
Yeah, it's getting gutted for sure.
Zero chance. I don't think it's zero chance.
I think it's 0 chance.
We just need more items like constricting command so that there's not like a spotlight on like one specific item that's just really good. Like there just
Yeah.
needs to be like 30 of these things so we can just choose what one we can use.
I'm not talking about like what makes sense or what doesn't make sense. I'm just talking about the history of grinding gear games. I'm just talking about how I think GGG balances. And the way that I've seen GGG balance,
okay.
I think there's a 0% chance it survives.
Chat makes a good point about Defy 2. Defy 2 is definitely part of the problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
but
that's-
They're both
that's
getting
the main
nerfed.
thing.
They're both getting gutted. It's all getting gutted. It's not even.
Constricting command is 20%, and that's actually the point to make here. I don't think constricting command. If Defy 2 doesn't exist, I don't think constricting command doesn't needs to be nerfed. Honestly,
Oh yeah, but they're both getting nerfed.
I think so.
They're both getting nerfed.
Yeah, GGG always does
Okay.
the triple tap. You know, they never do the single tap. They put something down, they put it down hard.
Yep.
Yeah,
They're
I
just both
personally
getting
think like a constricting command is more than fine. I like what you just said was like the aha moment for me, because Defy 2 just makes it like so insane, man.
Yeah,
And
I
you can
talked
stack
about
it with Defy 1? No? Can't you just stack
I
it
don't-
too with
I don't
Defy 1?
know. I don't know, but
I haven't played a constricting command
Yeah.
build, so
I think that
Because if you just have constricting command, it's not like you just put it on and it's amazing. You have to invest the points.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that certain thing is fine.
Yeah.
So-
And I've talked about this before. Like, I think that when people ask me, like, is constricted command as good as, was it as good as what old Deepest Tower was? And I said, no, there's nowhere close. People were saying, like, oh my God, constricted command is the new Deepest Tower. I'm like, no, it's not. Deepest Tower was way more busted because, like, you only need a
Yes.
couple of nodes to get like almost the full power, and then like if you wanted to get the full power, all you needed was a from nothing to that little cert area, and then you just get it full.
Yeah.
And you didn't even have to put it on like your main weapons. Like you could just weapon swap into it, and you
yeah.
could swap it in for bossing. Like there's no way.
Wasn't
it
one of the
was.
notes like 100%?
Yeah, it was
100% for one
ridiculous. I think it was
note?
finality.
Like 100% increased damage? Like,
Yeah, it
come
was
on.
insane.
insane.
Which is why, like, it's like what you guys said, right? Constricting command by itself is not that bad because you need to invest a lot into it. But like, you combine it with Defy, and then like, you know, maybe it's about like how the jewel system works in that area and how you can get a ton of jewels on top of pathing down to constricting command, right? All those things around it make constricting command really strong. But knowing GGG and how they nerf, I don't think there's a chance that constricting command lives, and I don't think there's a way that Defy lives. I think they're both just gone.
I would not be surprised if they're both gone either. Yeah. Is there any other outliers? Do you think? What are your thoughts on Trample Toe, Miso? You think he'll survive untouched again?
I think so. I think Trample Toe is one of the most busted items in the game. But because of the fact that people, like the movement speed penalty is just so, I don't know, debilitating for a lot of people. I
It
don't think
really
he's gonna
is.
touch. As busted as that item is, like literally you can take a build that has no clear and just slap it on, and now your build has full screen clear.
It's the
I-
best.
But you're slow as fuck. So
Yeah.
it's
So the people don't care. They just won't use it. So that's why it's not gonna get
Yeah.
nerfed.
especially now with the new runes and stuff. I mean, you can like exceptional deepest tower, you can have 3 sockets now, right? So you can have at
Exceptional
least
Trample Toe?
15%. Yeah, you can have 15% movement speed in there, but compare that to 100% increased boots, where you can have 75% movement speed boots. It's just,
Yeah, it doesn't compare.
but yeah, I totally understand. If deepest tower had like 20 to 30% movement speed on the boot, it would have been
Trample
on the
Toe.
chopping block like 4 years ago. Trample Toe, yeah. So
Did you guys all happen to see the Connor video?
No.
oh, I knew we were talking about that too, right? Yeah.
I mean, I've been out of the
If we haven't all seen it, we should save it for next episode. So that was going to be the last thing we could dive into is the ailment discussion.
Yeah.
But we'll save
Yeah.
it for next week then.
Very good video. If like for people in chat as well, what was his YouTube name again?
Connor Converse?
Yeah, Connor Converse.
Yeah, Connor-
Converse, something
Con-
like that.
Really, really good video on a one man left Connor Converse. Really, really good video on one of the most prevalent discussions I have every day in my chat. Like the whole lightning discussion is, I think, something that is very, 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 very
how
important.
like shock
to,
is just completely busted, so
talk about-
lightning's always going to be so
yeah,
strong.
that it's just like
Just lightning
lightning
compared to any other
Everything-
ailment in general.
Lightning is just is lightning too good or is the other stuff too bad? It doesn't really matter. But lightning is
Yeah,
the
lightning is too
dominant
good.
It is the
thing, and
dominant.
it's
Does
just
more damage.
boring.
It
It's just boring.
CCs and it gives you more damage when you hit the target. Like it does everything that the other ones don't do. I mean, we've had the discussion about how ignite and poison and all these need like some loves here and there and stuff. We'll dive deep into it next week though, because I want Miso to watch it. It's a really good video.
Yeah.
Very good. It's actually at the top of the subreddit. Like it did that well. But yeah. Anything else anyone want to talk about before we wrap it up? I know we don't have a build of the week.
Yeah, I mean, will we talk about it next week? I don't know, because the next podcast is coming later this week. Spoiler alert.
That's true.
And we're going to be talking about the GGG live stream. So
we can try diving into it now. I mean, you're smart enough. You get the gist of the conversation, Misa. I mean, what do you think of like lightning as an ailment in the whole? Like, do you think lightning needs a nerf, or do you think the other ones just need some serious love?
I mean, the thing is, right? I don't really necessarily. I've talked about this in the past. I'm not sure if it needs a nerf I'm not sure if it's. I think it's more that it needs a nerf because no matter what you do to the other ailments, you're always going to want some sort of shock in your build. The way that it works right now, lightning is always going to be something that's in your build no matter what, or you're going to try to at least try your best to get it into your build because of how strong shock is. And this is not a Path of Exile 2 problem. This is a Path of Exile problem where that has existed since, again, Path of Exile 1. Because no matter what you do, that extra 20% more damage or however high you can get it to with your lightning magnitude is just always going to be like one of the best options and easiest options to get fast and easy damage. So if you're a lightning build, then it's like perfect. I don't even have to try to squeeze it in. It just lives there naturally. Whereas, other builds like, well, I always need to get this. So it's like, no matter how strong the other builds are, it's not about pushing them up. It's about like thinking about how fundamentally lightning as an element works and the element of shock works in the game. And I mean, PG has always given that like bullshit answer of like, oh, lightning's supposed to be like thematically like, the biggest AoE or whatever, right? But like, I think that's complete BS. So I really do think this just like lightning as an element and shock as an ailment needs a rework.
Yeah.
I think that's
basically the point of the Connor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the perfect encapsulation of what basically I think
I could have made that video. Come on.
I mean, it's not really. I think it's not really also a contentious subject. I think there's not really a lot of things to discuss. I think it's a very, very obvious problem. It's a very obvious thing that needs to be fixed, and the fixes for it are probably also very obvious. We already talked about that on the podcast before this league launch, for example, where we also said we really hope that Ignite is going to be cool. And then they did something to Ignite, and we were hyped about it on the reveal stream, but it didn't really do anything to Ignite. And
in fact, it kind of made it worse, maybe.
We tried really hard. Both me and Miso had Ignite prolification builds. We tried really hard to make work this patch, and yeah, Ignite prolif needs to at least be baseline, in my opinion. Did we lose Rabbit?
We kind of did. But, I mean, talk about Ignite. I think there's that, like, baseline proliferation time that doesn't exist in PoE 1 that, makes it difficult.
Yeah.
My Discord died for a second there. But, yeah, okay. I said everything that I needed.
And we just said buff Ignite prolif in some way, because that's definitely one of the worst problems with Ignite.
Sorry, what I wanted to say is I think freeze is actually a good example of something that works in a way that it should be. Because I get it. The whole like fantasy or like the whole point about freezing is that you have CC, stuff like that. I think let's say if freeze also increase your damage to the target when it's frozen or something, that would probably be then
what if they all had like a self-contained damage? Like what if the problem isn't that shock is doing like increased damage? What if it was like only % increased damage for lightning skills, or then you had the cold one, which like when they have the chill build up, it's % increased damage for cold skills. Like maybe that's where they need to go with it, but right now, again, you always want shock. Like there's some builds where I'm playing like multiple elements where like I'll open with Plasma Blast to get up a big shot, and then I'll swap to something else that's doing a different element. Like that'll always be how you play. Just prime the boss with a big
I think-
shock and then nuke it.
And I think it's once again one of the things where I don't think the solution is should just nerf that one thing into the ground, but rather look at the other stuff that is being outshined by that one thing, and then see how you can maybe lift those up instead of just cutting off the top.
Yeah. And Freeze is arguably the coolest mechanic in the game. Like, I love Herald of Ice. Like, it is so satisfying.
Yes. Yes.
So it'd just be awesome to like feel more flexible in those ways.
Yeah, I just had it today because I was starting a Monk campaign playthrough, and I was struggling with Glacier Cascade in Act 1 because Monk start is awful.
It's terrible.
But then
It's terrible.
I learned how to use Frozen Locust in Act 1, and it's just so much better. Once you get Herald of Ice and you go Frozen Locust into Glacier Cascade, popping the Frozen Locust with Herald of Ice, all of a sudden it feels so good. All of a sudden it's so nice. So yeah. But
Well,
still,
the craziest thing is they nerfed Frozen Locust.
GGG, please.
Yeah, they did nerf
Yeah.
it. It was better in 0.2 going into the patch.
Yeah, it's still very nice though. When you get Herald of Ice, it's super nice because you actually have clear, which is kind of the problem on Monk Act 1. Yesterday I was bashing my head against the wall because I was trying to figure out the best way to start Monk in Act 1. And I think this is probably the best that we have now on Monk.
What are your thoughts, Blaze? I haven't heard you talk in a minute.
About ailments in general, I mean, I feel like it's all been said. I've had this conversation quite a few times about lightning on my podcast and just with my peers and you guys. And yeah, it's, kind of an age old thing now where it just feels like I was actually so excited for Ignite, but when they were talking about it in 0.3 and it just kind of fell really short. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that with 0.4, there's some sort of rework to either make lightning a little bit worse or bring everything up. I think I definitely prefer everything to be brought up a little bit more, but we'll see what happens.
You play a lot of PoE1 and stuff. What are your thoughts on? I see this discussion around heralds a lot lately. Do you think heralds should be usable with spells?
That's a great question. I mean, I wouldn't say I played a lot of PoE1. I've played very little PoE1, under like 100 hours.
Well, I just
total.
meant you've been dabbling recently. I don't know if you dabbled with the heralds in PoE1 much yet, but I've seen people talk about heralds a lot lately, and they've been like I want heralds to be usable with spells. That would just really bring them to life.
Yeah, I used that on Elementalist this league, and it was really cool. And I would be totally on board with GGG implementing that into PoE2 as well. I think that, it feels like this is, again, another discussion that we've had, I think, with you on my podcast specifically, where it feels like everything is just a little too limiting right now in terms of the way that we can kind of configure spells and skills and spirit gems and all that kind of stuff. So where they choose to kind of loosen the reins, I'm not sure, but I would be all for them doing that, definitely.
Yep. Heralds on spells would be nice.
Yeah.
Rabbit doesn't
I
look
don't
like he
think spe-
agrees.
I don't think spells need heralds. I think that would just I think that would just extrapolate the whole thing of everyone is using heralds. I don't know. I
They're
don't know. I
fun.
haven't thought too much about it. I don't know. I don't think
I've seen it pop up
the
from a
current
couple
state of
PoE1
spells-
creators. It seems
Yeah.
to be semi-popular of a take. And chat all said, please, yes, whenever.
Oh,
I
if it's
said
popular,
that, so.
then yeah. Then,
I think it's just because
yeah.
you use like some of the best spells. If you're using some of the bad spells, not having heralds is really rough. I think you're just, just better sleep. But yeah.
I agree.
excuse me.
You good there, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Is there any specific wish list you have before we wrap up here, Blaze, for hardcore solo self-found? I'm sad we didn't get like a super in-depth hardcore solo self-found conversation for you, but is there any just specific things for your neck of the woods that you're really wishing for?
Yeah, honestly, I think I covered everything. Like, if we could get life on the tree, so we could start having some more like defensive layer diversity, and then more stuff like fortify, spell suppression. All those things are really what I would love to see in terms of like things that would have a big impact for me as a hardcore player. Other than that, no, man, I'm just excited to play 0.4. I'm excited to go Druid. I'm excited to see what GGG's been cooking, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, you have any? I mean, I guess we're wrapping up. Unless either Miso or Rabbit wanna any final thoughts on something. All right. Well, any shout outs, Blaze? Plug yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, are we doing like outros right now? Is that what's
basically.
happening? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, no build of the week this week, guys.
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me on. It was actually super cool that Miso and I could meet up IRL and do this, IRL sort of podcast in Japan. It was super sick. Yeah, I'm BlazeWorks TV. I go by Blaze. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch under that name. I have my own podcast, so if you guys are enjoying PoE2 podcast content, go check me out on YouTube. I actually have interviews with all three of these fine gentlemen, so check those out, and lots more fun stuff coming up with the release of 0.4. That's pretty much about it.
Take it away, Miso.
Yeah, as per usual, always fun doing these. Miso X Shiro on Twitch and YouTube. I am still in Japan right now. Of course, me and Blaze are still in Japan, but I will be back in the States in about 3 to 4 days. So no stream. Stream's been very inconsistent, but when I get back, content will start flowing again. Streams will start flowing again every single night. So hopefully you guys are excited, and I'm excited to see you guys again.
Hello. I will be streaming the reveal of course of 0.4 on day after tomorrow, probably around when this podcast is going to be uploaded. I'm streaming Path of Exile 2 every single day, and also we are going to do a little bit of a special stream for the League launch on my stream this time, because last time when there was a League launch, I did a subathon. And I had two things as sub goals for that subathon. The first thing was the actual one that I decided on, which was getting a Valorb tattoo. And we hit that one. And then my viewers dared me to do another sub goal, which was a sexy cosplay. And I said, yeah, okay, we can do it. We'll never hit it anyway. We hit it, unfortunately. So now for League launch, next on the 12th, if you want to see me doing a sexy cosplay, and I'm not spoiling what it's going to be, I'm telling you though, my wife is currently in the kitchen, like soldering and sewing the costume and everything. It's gonna be amazing. So if you wanna see me making an ass out of myself on stream, with the League launch, I'm gonna stream the League launch, and then first stream is gonna be 24-hour stream. We're gonna see. It's gonna be fun. I regret all the choices that I've made,
confirmed.
though.
Rabbit cosplaying as Ed Ziri with 4 boobs reveal.
I said the last time when people asked me to do the sexy cosplay and whatever, they wanted me to do like a rabbit maid outfit and whatever. Like it cannot be TOS obviously, but there's gonna be some sexiness involved. There's gonna be some sexiness involved. Twitch.tv/deadrabbit.
Well, if you guys are still watching, just know that this Saturday we are going to be doing a podcast. We're going to be doing a podcast after we've gotten the announcements and the patch notes. Last time we did a podcast immediately after the patch came out, and it was really awkward because the notes came out halfway through the show, and we didn't have time to read and stuff. So we're giving ourselves a couple days to digest it. So this Saturday, next episode, and then next week I believe we have Darth microtransaction on before the launch. So we have 2 back-to-back episodes that are going to be really hype. And yeah, so thanks for hanging out, everybody. Just keep in mind, this is the holiday seasons. This is the time to be happy, spread cheer, and joy. If you're feeling lonely out there, you need someone to talk to, the 4 of us have great communities. Come hang out with us. We're really hyped about PoE2. If you're looking for someone to share your passion with, we're all here for you, man. So happy holidays, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye!